Hey, what's up? What's up? I always suck at starting these. I don't know how to start them. That's why I never I take breaks between recording them. I'd record them more often, but I'm always like, how do I start it? I don't know what to say. Once I get into it, I talk way too much though. But in the beginning, I never know how to start these. Hope you guys can hear me well. Anyway, my daughter's asleep, so I can't be too loud. But trying to make sure you guys hear me. That's why I'm zooming in. Check out my shirt. Um, yeah, so the two guys I'll do in this video probably are Precious Achiuwa and Nate Hinton. I'm gonna try to get a couple more guys out today as well. While I have some time, I'm off today from work. But yeah, just this video, I think I'll do these two guys from the American, because it'll be a really long video if I do more than that. So yeah, Precious Achiuwa, just obviously with him, the first thing you're gonna go to do is the physical tools at 6'9". The wingspan I saw was like 7'2". He may be a little bit closer to 6'8" also in shoes. I don't know. I don't know, 6'8", 6'9", something like that. So with that in mind, and I think he has fairly high shoulders and everything. I think he might be up to like 9 foot, 9'1" standing reach. He's not like super wide or anything like that. I mean, he definitely has a very solid, well built frame, but he's not like huge as far as width. So yeah, I think he might be even a little bit above 9 foot standing reach. I mean, again, this is just a guess, kind of a estimation with the eye test. I'm not claiming to be like amazing at doing that. So who knows? But that's my estimation about it. Let me know if you guys disagree. Um, Really fast. I think that's like one of his biggest kind of advantages he may have, especially is if he plays the five. Obviously, that's kind of the big story with him, or whatever you want to call it. The narrative with him is like, is he a three? Is he a five? Do you want him? You probably want him to play the five. I think most people, even like major media consensus, seems to be at this point that he's best as kind of a small ball five in today's NBA. When you see the success of guys like Bam Adebayo and John Collins and stuff, but is that a position he's going to be willing to play off the bat? And in my opinion, also I would add to that, if he is in that position, how valuable is that going to be? Is that worth a lottery pick? But that's a little bit different. But yeah, just as far as more his scouting, not per se like where he should be picked, but just describing his game. Yeah, how willing is he going to be to change his approach to be an off-ball player? He did a solid job of that at Memphis, but you still saw a good amount of him, playing from the elbows, trying to attack off the dribble. I don't mind him using his handle sometimes, of course, in like open floor situations and stuff like that. But some of these shots he takes, he has no business taking. And I think, again, most people would agree with that. And I know some people would say, let him develop. And, he has all this physical talent. So, there's upside there, supposedly. But, I'm a person who's always been sort of skeptical of that physical talent necessarily means that the guy has upside to be a star or anything like that if they don't have that feel for the game, if they don't have certain kind of preternatural aspects of touch and coordinated skill level and stuff like that, which, Precious Achua regularly airballs layups at the rim, like shots right like 1 foot away. He'll throw them way over the rim. Like his touch is pretty scary. And, I think he shot at about 60% free throw this year. So, that's not the worst you could possibly be. I think his actual like touch is not that bad. Like when he uh, hits the rim, he'll get some soft bounces. I'm trying to remember if this is correct. I think this is the right. Yeah. Um, yeah. When he hits the rim, I think he gets some soft bounces, but his aim could be really bad. And he'll get some really like awkward misses and really bad misses again. A lot of like layups that like just hit completely like off the backboard and stuff like that. That is really concerning. And again, I think an offense's best role is just taking advantage of his physical tools, his twitchy athleticism, his frame, and kind of playing him as a roll man, as a lob threat. When you see him kind of catching the ball as a roll man in space, he has, he could catch it at the free throw line so quickly, like, turn around and just flies to the rim. just not necessarily only vertically but horizontally as well, really quick, or like beating other big men in transition. He's absolutely incredible at that, and finishing from a far distance for dunks and stuff like that. Just being a really effective finisher when he's just able to kind of dunk it in when he doesn't have to rely on touch as much. Only 11 out of 26 at rim out of pick and roll ISO spot up, despite that size and you know strength and kind of explosive ability. Just again, the touch is not there. Um, doesn't really have kind of the skill set. 7 out of 27 on runners. He did shoot 45.5 effective field goal percentage and 33 spot up no dribble jumper. 30.4%, 28 pull up jump shots. Again, all these shots he should not be taking. Even the spot ups, maybe a couple spot ups when he's wide open, I'd be okay with him taking. But really, almost all these shots, if not all of them, should be eliminated if he is to reach his upside. So, I mean, the obvious thing with Achiuwa, first of all, he'll also be almost age 21 by July 1st. I believe is born in November, if I remember right. Um, I think around 20.8 years old on July 1st. So, yeah, that kind of neuters his upside somewhat because he's much older compared to most freshmen as well. But yeah, again, the thing I was trying to say is considering where he's being projected right now is like a lottery top 15 type selection. He's a guy that I would definitely be looking at as a second contract guy, as a guy who comes in and the team kind of considering if they're taking him in the lotto or anything like that, they're probably expect him to bring a little bit more than just kind of athletic finishing and defense. So when he, in my opinion, like in all likelihood, won't be able to kind of succeed within that role, then that's when you get him in the second contract when he's likely more willing to take on a smaller role and play more off ball and just kind of act as a above the rim finisher inside. Um, I think the real upside he has that he could really potentially add value is on the defensive end. He can be really impressive there. I mean, again, the athleticism, ability to cover ground. His body control is a little bit wild. I should mention that with the offensive end, also with the handle. He has a pretty decent handle for a 6'9" freshman. Um, Even for 6'9" guy's age, it's not so bad. But he has kind of like out of control, not a great body control. Like his limbs are kind of everywhere. He's not always able to kind of get his foot placement and hip angles exactly, probably the way that he's ideally trying to have them. You know, um, kind of just struggles to place, not struggles, but doesn't place his body in the ideal angles and positions consistently. And when he's making like quick change of direction dribbles and stuff like that, he could be a little bit out of control. And the same thing in sliding, trying to mirror guys, and abruptly, changing direction or changing the angle of his body. A little bit out of control, not great body control, not ideal coordination and stuff like that. So, with that said, though, his the kind of twitchy, explosive athleticism, the quick reflexes are definitely there, and he's able to utilize them in a variety of ways on the defensive end. Again, covering ground really well. Being able to kind of help in the paint, but then also recover to a shooter. I think he's a better rim protector than his like block percentage even shows. He impacted a very good amount of shots with his length and athleticism when he was playing kind of the five and kind of the role of the defensive anchor for Memphis. Memphis was one of the top teams in the nation in paint defensive field goal percentage, and I think some of that had to do with definitely their kind of style and their scheme was very pack it in. But I think Achiuwa had significant impact on that. And again, you just see with his length and speed combination is legit impressive. He's very quick off his feet, and he was really able to impact a lot of plays at the rim and change a lot of shots, and force guys kind of to not attempt shots at times, or to settle for runners, or short range jumpers, as opposed to taking all the way to the rim and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's the thing that I like. And then again, has some ability to also defend on the perimeter. Definitely, if you're playing him at the five, he's going to be relatively switchable compared to the average, center at the NBA level. So yeah, all that, I think there is some value there, definitely. Um, but just at his age, I'm a little bit skeptical that there's much more upside beyond that. I don't see any like real high end upside. I'm not a guy that's just gonna buy into his um, kind of physical talent as being indicative of supposedly having this incredible upside. His feel for the game, especially decision making on the offensive end, is really really bad. 409 players with at least 80 transition possessions. Last year in NCAA Division One, Achiuwa was 366 among those players, a turnover percentage of 22.1 in transition. 22.1 is a pretty bad turnover percentage in half court, let alone in transition. So yeah, that's definitely not great. Then I think Spencer brought this point up in his scouting report of Achiuwa, that Achiuwa kind of churns his body on jump shots, and especially when he's not wide open, and when he has somebody like closing out on him, he has to kind of hurry it along a little bit. He kind of puts his hip and lower body into it too much, and kind of churns as he shoots. So yeah, well, on guarded catch and shoots on synergy, he was 1 out of 18 last year. Only one guarded catch and shoot on 18 attempts made last year. So yeah, again, should not be taking any jump shots unless he's like literally wide open with like nobody even close to him. So there's definitely like problems there, and I don't think there's much offensive upside. I don't think he has the feel for the game and the skill to really be in all likelihood much more than kind of a small ball five type. But on the defensive end, there is maybe not like, I don't think he's going to be like an all NBA defender or anything. But I think with his length and speed combination, I think there's ability to at least bring some sort of impact, to be not a negative on that end, which makes him at least worthy of in the vacuum, at least being draftable, probably like a top 60 type of prospect, maybe top 50 or something like that. But yeah, I wouldn't go much further than that. And obviously, he's going to get picked much, much earlier. So there's no real point, in a more kind of practical sense. There's no point of me even ranking him, but I will anyway, just, to kind of, you know, for um, well, kind of for the future, to see how right I was about him or how wrong I'll be about him, and what I could learn from my current evaluation of him in relation to other prospects in this class and that sort of thing. So yeah, but yeah, another thing I'll mention again just before I finish up here is I'm really high at speed. On speed, period. I'm high on speed. No, but I really love fast players. Quickness, kind of mobility in general, I think is still somewhat underrated in NBA. And having a really fast player at the five, I think, could be very valuable. Just kind of allowing your team a more open floor utility and stuff like that. Just being able to consistently push it and get out on the break and kind of put pressure on opposing teams by having all five guys run out, and having your center cover ground, and just all players really on the team should be as uh, above average speed at their positions. But at the center position particularly, I think that's something that's kind of overlooked. People still to this day kind of really want good size at the center position. And of course, I'm not saying I'm against size. Size matters also, of course, like length and all that, and strength is very important. But I think speed is sometimes overlooked, and the advantage that you could get by having somebody who's extraordinarily fast at the five. Like Tyler Bay played a lot of five for Colorado this year, like 6'6", and not particularly big bodied or anything. And I think that's where he really brought Colorado a lot of advantages is with his ability to cover ground both in open floor situations and in kind of shorter range ability to cover space and recover defensively and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of the thing that Achiuwa broadly could really bring value in. But whether that's enough to offset the negative value that he'll likely bring on the offensive end, because again, I'm very low on his feel for the game and decision making and skill level and all that. Um, that it's yet to be seen. So we'll see what happens with all that. But yeah, that's my Achiuwa scouting report. And then next up, let me take a breath here. I'm talking a bunch. I mean, again, this is why I like to be on with multiple people. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm too lazy to what is it called? Make arrangements with others and kind of coordinate our time and figuring out the logistics because I only get these couple hours per week where I can actually record these and all that. So yeah, it's difficult for me to get guests, unfortunately. But and again, I welcome anybody if you want to come on. Hit me up on Twitter if I know you at all. Hit me up on YouTube and Twitter, and I'll get you on. Anyway, here let me talk about Nathan. Um, Jewel, menthol, not mint. I know most people like mint. I like menthol. Hinton, I mean, I'm higher on him than I think kind of the again major media consensus. I don't really see him in almost any. I think of the top hundreds, top 60s I've seen from kind of bigger sites, the ESPN, CBS's, Sports Illustrated, and all that. But relative to draft Twitter, I think I'm actually a little bit lower, so I'm kind of like in between on him. 6'5" in shoes, decent length, and okay frame. Has alright strength for a guy who's not like huge or anything. He could handle contact somewhat. I saw read Ben Rubin's article on him, and he had him at a 6'9" wingspan. I'm not sure where he exactly got that, but that sounds about right. I would have pegged it a little bit less, but it could be 6'9" is are okay. So that would have him about, I don't know, 8'7" standing reach, maybe 8'6.5" or so. I think he plays really hard. He has, well, actually, that's not correct. I wouldn't say really hard. He plays hard, I'll say. He has good instincts. He definitely has a nose for the ball, and I think that's kind of his outstanding skill. Uh, Ben Pfeiffer and Max Carlin talked about on the recent podcast. Nathan's ability to get long rebounds is definitely like an outstanding skill. But even not the long rebounds, just rebounding in general, I'd argue for a 6'5", 6'6" guy who again is now like doesn't play the four or the five or anything and isn't like huge like as far as like strength or super athletic or long. He just understands positioning and just has again I call it a nose for the ball. Just has a feel for how the ball and where the ball is going to come off the rim and has the kind of timing and positioning and instincts to just kind of get to it and corral it, kind of gain possession of it. So yeah, always been a very very good rebounder, and I think that's kind of the thing that really stands out with him. But while I do think that's a good indicator for his kind of NBA future as far as having that nose for the ball and having those instincts. I'm not sure how that exact skill in itself is going to translate. NBA is definitely not a league that um, what's it called emphasizes rebounding for guards nowadays and emphasizing really offensive rebounding period for the most part, but especially for guards they really want you to get back in transition, excuse me. And yeah, I just unless you're like a guy who they want getting rebounds at the guard position, so the bigs will box out for you, so you could get the ball like a Russell Westbrook and be the one to have it in your hands, so you could be the one to make the play. You know, usually most NBA teams won't have their guards really chasing rebounds a whole lot. So I'm not sure that that skill in itself is going to translate very much. I mean, maybe to some extent it probably will, but I don't think it's going to be like a big thing in where Nate Hinton is going to be this huge rebounder at the NBA level. But again, I do think some of it is good because just because of the instincts it shows and kind of his again understanding for positioning and understanding of where what's gonna happen before it happens to some extent, and how that could affect some other plays that he could be involved in at the NBA level. But really, other than this, there's not really much that stands out about Nathan relative to even like average, like high major starter, let alone an NBA prospect. I guess you could say his defense at times is very good, but I also watched a few games here where his, kind of uh, uh, below average, I would say, athletic ability and lack of high end quickness and kind of um, below or not below, but like average, I'll say physical tools, average strength, and all that. He's just doesn't have a lot of athletic talent and doesn't have particularly impressive measurements or anything like that. So uh, yeah, that kind of held him back defensively at times in some of these games I watched more recently with him. And, you saw him get beat a bit. And you saw him even be a little bit lethargic on the defensive end at times, not really giving great effort, kind of taking possessions off to some extent, kind of just hanging around or being. Not providing great pressure or really being super engaged with this man, and he got beat on a few plays, gave up a couple putbacks even. So yeah, unless he's like really like locked in and is able to consistently be this incredible shutdown defensive guy, which we've seen flashes from him, but again, it's not super consistent, and I definitely wouldn't consider him I would say he's a good, maybe even very good defensive player, but I wouldn't consider him like the elite defensive prospect like an Isaac Okoro or even somebody like Josh Green or Scotty Lewis. I think he's a bit below those guys in part because he isn't the athletic talent that guys like that are. And then on the offensive end, he's just very limited again by the athletic ability. He's just really not able to do very much off the dribble at all, even struggles driving in the straight line against closeouts. You see him get cut off a lot on penetration and stuff. And, his shooting is all right. In 2 seasons at Houston, on 111 pull up jump shot attempts, he's at 36.9 effective field goal percentage. So that's a little bit better than like a Tyrese Halliburton, who gets a lot of criticism for his pull up jumper, but not a huge amount better. And then on spot ups, 171 attempts, which is a good number of attempts. So give him some credit for volume. But that's really the only thing he's really does on the offensive end at the college level, like at a high level, and at the NBA level. I think is the only thing he'll be able to do at all above average on the offensive end is hit these spot up shots. 171 attempts, 56.7 effective field goal percentage, which is a little bit maybe above average, about average for NBA wing prospect. So yeah. So besides being like an average shooter, what does he really do on the offensive end from the wing? And he's not really a guy who runs off screens or like really shoots off movement. Doesn't have great shot versatility. Below average pull up jump shooter. So yeah, I think for a wing prospect offensively, he's overall I would say on the lower end at the very least. And as far as his kind of instincts and ability to fit in with the team, be smart about moving the ball and kind of positioning away from the ball, creating spacing and stuff like that. He does a good job of all that, but just on its own, without the ability to actually produce, as far as like scoring and creating for teammates and putting pressure on the defense and forcing the defense to guard him and really engage with him and all that. I'm not sure how valuable all of that is. And then on the defensive end, again, he's a good but not like hugely impactful defender. So overall, I'm fairly low on Hinton. So I'll rank these two guys real quick with the other guys I have ranked so far. Let's see, who do I have here? So far I have Halburn, Neesmith, Xavier Tillman, Aaron Henry, Audusumno, Cassius Winston, Sam Merrill, Chris Duarte, Payne Pritchard. I think I'll put Hinton. I'm thinking between him. I think I'll put him right below Cassius Winston, but just above Sam Merrill. Because I do trust Hinton's defense a little bit more. I mean, I think Merrill is more likely to be a guy who could come in and shoot just because he's such a great shooter. But I think Hinton is a good enough shooter. He's 3 years younger than Merrill, and he could actually defend a little bit. So I'll put him right above Merrill. But yeah, and as far as Achiuwa, I think I'll actually put Achiuwa somewhat high. I'll put him right between Tillman and Aaron Henry, the two Michigan State guys, below Tillman, but a little bit above Aaron Henry still because I think both of these guys are kind of defensive first prospects. But of course, Achiuwa being bigger, Henry is definitely a lot more skilled offensively, to be fair. But I'm not sure how much of that is something that he's really gonna be able to make an impact with at the NBA level. And Achiuwa similarly. Probably not going to make much of an offensive impact, as I said, but because he is bigger on the defensive end, I think I give him a slight edge. But I think you could definitely make a argument for Henry as well. So, yeah.